Matteo, first question to you. If we now take a multi-asset view, do you think it's time to be risk on or risk off in asset allocation, and why?
Well, I believe that in the last 6 months we have started feeling what it can mean managing money in a late financial cycle, or better in a maturing financial cycle, especially after such a long cycle. And that has really pushed us to revisit and rethink about risk exposure and risk allocation. So we started the year risk on the back of clearly nice, fully synchronized growth. We have easy monetary policy. We had nice supportive financial conditions. But then during the year, we have progressively reduced our exposure, both to equity and credit, up to the point at the end of May that we fully neutralize our exposure. Neutralize means that on a benchmark portfolio, we are, just to be very pragmatic, what we do in the real portfolio, we are back to benchmark, but most important, in absolute return portfolio, we are sort of in a 0.40, we are around below 10% of equity. But most importantly, we have not reduced the overall risk of the portfolio. We have pushed and increased the exposure to relative value bets and to alpha. So maintaining really the overall risk of the portfolio unchanged. And that is not, is what we expect to do. The more we'll be moving in 2019 in a late financial cycle. Because clearly we are expecting more asynchronicity to emerge. Obviously the US is benefiting and from an extension of the cycle and the nice uptrend earning cycle, but we're going to see consolidation on growth. We're also going to see a higher volatility regime and a bit tighter financial conditions. That will push us more and more to reduce risk. And if you think about 2019, we expect to have an even more conservative allocation for our portfolios.
Vincent, let me turn to you. Do you think the move to a more mature phase of the current cycle will trigger, in your view, some rotation in equities and sectors?
Yes, it's fair to say that currently the music is still playing on the marketplace, and for good reasons. Ken mentioned the earning growth, which is still very robust. Central banks are still accommodative. So overall, market participants are still playing the game overall. But the dancer is starting to be tired somehow. And as we believe we are entering into a late cycle, we think we should start to adopt a more cautious approach, in particular on areas where we have known the highest growth. And also in parallel, investors should always look at the yield curve and the absolute level of rates, which is the main driver for this market going forward.
So what investment approach do you think is the most relevant or most appropriate to deal with this market phase?
So on the equity part, we believe now it is time to go to quality names, so to find market leaders which can go into the late cycle in a good position with leadership positions and can resist better. It's and in the next quarters, so with a S, I don't know, next one or in 2 quarters, it will be time to move to value, depending on where we believe the rate levels will go. But be prepared to move to value or to deep value and to overweight massively value in the coming months or quarters.
Now, if we take a more strategic view of the equity markets, what are some of the major evolutions of these markets that you foresee?
So first, as you have all noticed, we have been 10 years in a bull market overall. And what is very striking is more and more the market structure has been modified. And we have in the marketplace more and more index and quantitative or systematic strategies which are driving the flows and the positioning. This has big effect on momentum, where we are seeing some very long cycles of momentum in the marketplace, which are driving some self-fulfilling prophecies. So it can go both ways. We always need to remember this. So when there will be some, and we have seen it in February, by the way, this year, on some aspects. So that's the first very important pattern which has evolved in the last years. Secondly, we see that the macro and micro environment is shifting, and there are new things coming to the plate. So tariffs, we discussed about it, some regulations, which are more and more complex to navigate. And what is striking is these new themes can have a very different effect from one country to another, one sector to another, one company to another. So therefore, we believe investors should more and more go to the very deep stock picking and analysis of all these themes and rely on some deep research. And on top of that, of course, ESG and engagement will play a growing role to foster additional returns.
And what do you see as the role of factor investing to face up to some of these challenges?
But so factor investing, I remember last year I discussed about it here, saying it will become something big. So today it has become something big, so it is something which is naturally adopted by most investors as a way to reduce, to have a more resilient portfolio and to have more consistent performances in the long run. So now we can say that factor investing or factor analysis is part of the basic toolbox of investors.
And do you see some areas for innovation in factor investing?
Yeah, it is a constantly innovating landscape. Lately, we have worked a lot on long-short factors, given what we believe will become the market environment. So our clients are asking for market-neutral approaches. So we have developed some strategies which are long-short based on factors. So this will become more and more in fashion, certainly. There are also innovation in terms of tools. So we have invested, and we are currently investing into tools based on artificial intelligence to help clients to navigate through factors, to modelize in their portfolios how factors are behaving, and therefore to make better choices for their allocations.
Thank you. Back to you, Matteo, to close off this section. From an asset allocation perspective, what are your main convictions over the next 12 months?
Well, as we've heard from Pascal, we are a bit short of sort of investment opportunities. However, especially the more we're moving into this late cycle, there will be opportunities. And they are primarily coming from the different pace that we are seeing in economic growth and in the earning cycle. Yes, we have a lot of synchronization because all the countries, they are nicely in expansion, but they're in different phases of expansion. And the central bank will be answering with a different pace. So today, we are primarily looking at 3 investment themes. The first one is about what we call the last race into risky assets. Second one is about central bank asynchrony, and the third one is about emerging market. And that is where we are really focused. Starting from the first one, last race on risky asset, we believe that there is still some juice to be squeezed from risky asset, but you have to be extremely selective. Being selective, especially based on different criteria from the past. Less focus on valuation, more focus on earnings in terms of earning growth, earnings quality, capex dynamics, and that is what is driving us, for example, to have important position more into US equity and to emerging Asia. The second one is about central bank asynchrony. As I was saying, the more we'll be exiting from this long easing phase, the more there will be opportunity given some asynchronicity in the answer or the pace of the change of policy from the central banks. And that will give opportunity to be flexible both on fixed income and on FX. We've been playing duration tactically. We had a short bias in the portfolio that we've closed just before Italian election. As Eric was saying, the Bund is difficult to play, but if anything, will be clearly opening more a short position, while clearly on the US Treasury, actually this level of yield start becoming attractive. We like linkers. We like not because we expect a big pickup in inflation, even though having an economy almost a full employment at around the low 3%, we have clearly there are opportunity of some pressure on inflation. But most importantly, the market in the linkers is priced much lower inflation. So we're long linkers across the basket, across the globe. But also some opportunity in emerging currencies, as was mentioned before. clearly with the strength of the dollar, the central banks in Asia that start moving more hawkish. That is giving us opportunity. For example, we just recently opened a basket long on Asian currencies where there is a strong current account balance. So we expect to be safer in case of a change of sentiment. Third and last is about emerging market. Emerging market has a central role in our portfolio, and we expect to stay and to take a larger role. Again, here to be selective even more, so really looking where there is less fragility, where really structural reform had a structural impact, and our first call there is again around China and Chinese equity. On the emerging debt, Jelena has already covered, so we are more cautious. We're looking for opportunity to enter in the market, again, because thanks to the spread widening that we've seen on emerging debt, for the first time after 2 years, they are, let's say, fairly value and not expensive. So again, if the situation is improving, we can have an opportunity to re-enter.
And what about risk management? In terms of managing risk, what approach are you recommending to investors?
Well, risk management, clearly, if you look at the wall of risk, is very, very long. But most importantly, the wall of risk has really become very diverse. So we have more systemic structural risk, but also a lot of idiosyncratic risk. Also across Europe, we have at least 5-6 different idiosyncratic risks that they may create trouble. At the same time, the cost of hedging has been going up. The volatility, the increasing volatility on equity now is spread over both also to rates and FX. So that is creating potentially a problem in constructing an hedging portfolio, because generic hedge may not work well. So what we do and what we recommend to the clients is really to be very disciplined in identifying the long list of risk, understanding if those risks can really affect their portfolio, really filtering and reducing. Be selective also in this case on the risks that can really affect your portfolio. So looking both at probability of the occurrence, clearly the tail probability, but also the potential impact on those portfolio. Looking at the market, how much is pricing this risk, and at the end, identifying a short list and really working and trying to hedge around that. Today, in the portfolio, we have important position in gold, we have protection on the Standard & Poor's, but we have also protection on US high yield with the risk reversal, where we expect that it can be the first one to react in case of a crisis. And we like currency as shock absorber. So we have important position again on the yen, but not only against the dollar, but also, for example, Australian dollar, because we've seen there's a cross that is very reactive and protected well the portfolio really during in February during the crisis. Probably the very last point, if I can still have 2 minutes, is that the more idiosyncratic risk we have, the more we have to think about being active, because generic hedge may not work. So in some cases, more and more we'll have to start looking into if the risk is, the cost of hedging is too high, maybe not to have the exposure. Get rid of any benchmark mentality and just focus that sometimes some exposure, the potential returns is not costing really the risk that we are adding to the portfolio.
Vincent, same rule as over there, the one sentence conclusion, takeaway for investors.
Okay, so just 2 sentences. First one, don't be complacent. So the past is not always a good predictor of the future. So do your research. We ask us to help you to navigate. And secondly, explore new territories. So factor, long, short, relative value, absolute, forex. So be curious.
Matteo, same question, one sentence.
But be dynamic and not be worried sometimes also to use liquidity the emerging debt is a good example, to be an opportunity sometimes to be outside of the market and wait for some price dislocation to re-enter the market with a better opportunity.
Thank you much. Thank you very much.